Have you ever stopped to think about what every living thing on Earth is actually made of? I mean, from a tiny little bacterium all the way up to a giant blue whale. Well, today, we're going to open up the ultimate cookbook and look at the fundamental recipe for life itself. So let's start with that big question. What's really in the ultimate recipe for life? It really boils down to three main things, right? You need the ingredients, you need the instruction manual, and of course you need a factory where you can put it all together.
And just like any amazing recipe, life starts with a few key ingredients. In biology, we call these macromolecules, and there are only 4 types that you absolutely positively have to have.
Yep, that's it, just 4. These 4 groups of molecules are the real workhorses. They do all the heavy lifting, providing energy, building structures, and carrying all the instructions for everything a cell needs to do. And here they are laid out so perfectly. You've got your carbohydrates, that's for quick energy, lipids for long-term energy storage, then you have proteins, which are literally the building blocks for structures and for running all the chemical reactions, and finally, nucleic acids. That's the master plan. And what's really cool? Look how they're all built from just a handful of common elements, like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, so we've got our ingredients, but how on earth does a cell know what to do with them? Well, it needs a recipe book, right? A master blueprint that holds all the instructions. And that blueprint is DNA. And if DNA is the giant cookbook, then the individual recipes inside are what we call genes. Each gene has just one job. It tells the cell how to build one specific protein. And proteins are everything. They're the tools, the machines, the whole infrastructure that makes a cell actually work. And this is how it all happens. It's this beautiful flow of information. So the master blueprint, the DNA, it stays protected, safe inside the nucleus. Then a temporary copy of a gene is made, and we call that mRNA. That little message travels out of the nucleus to a machine called a ribosome, which you can think of as the factory floor. The ribosome reads the instructions and starts assembling the final protein. It's just a perfect information assembly line. All right, so we have our ingredients, we have our instructions. Now we just need the kitchen, where all the cooking happens. We need the factory. And in biology, that factory is the cell. And it turns out these factories come in 2 basic models. You've got your prokaryotic cells. Think of them like a simple one-room studio apartment. They're small and everything just kind of floats around together. Then you have the much bigger, more complex eukaryotic cells. That's us. These are like massive factories with specialized departments, what we call organelles, for every single job. Now, even within those complex factories, you get different floor plans. Plant cells, for example, have a strong, rigid outer wall for support, and they have chloroplasts, which are basically little solar panels. Animal cells, on the other hand, are more flexible and don't have those parts, which gives them a totally different set of skills. And this is so important to remember. Every part of the cell has a really specific job. The nucleus is the head office with the blueprints. The ribosomes are the assembly line building the products. The mitochondria, those are the power plants, generating all the energy. And the plasma membrane, that's your security gate, controlling everything that comes in and out. It's this incredible coordinated effort. Of course, no factory can run without power. You can have the best blueprint and the best workers, but without electricity, nothing happens. The cell is exactly the same. So where does it get the juice to keep the lights on? Well, it's all part of this elegant cycle. It's a 2-step process, really. First, you have to capture energy from an outside source, like sunlight. And then you have to convert that energy into a form the cell can actually use to get stuff done. And here's that amazing cycle. On one side, you've got photosynthesis. That's what plants do. They take in sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, and they make sugar, glucose. That's stored energy. Then, on the other side, you've got cellular respiration, which almost all living things do, including us. We take in that sugar or glucose and oxygen, and we break it down to release usable energy called ATP. And just look at that. The outputs of one process are the inputs for the other. It's a perfect, self-sustaining loop.
So let's recap. We have our ingredients, our instructions, a working factory, and a power source. With all that in place, an organism can finally start to build more of itself. It can grow, it can repair damage, and it can even multiply.
All of this is done through a process called mitosis. The cell makes a perfect copy of its DNA blueprint and then splits right down the middle, creating 2 new cells that are genetically identical. This is literally how you grew from a single cell, and it's how your body replaces millions of worn-out cells every single day. And that brings up a really critical question. This whole process of cell division is obviously essential for life, but it has to be controlled so carefully. So, what happens when a cell just loses its ability to stop dividing? What if that off switch breaks? Well, that, in a nutshell, is what cancer is. It's cell division that's gone completely rogue. Little errors or mutations in the DNA recipe can break those crucial stop signals. And when that happens, a cell can just start dividing over and over and over again, forming a tumor and causing all sorts of problems. So think about this. The same four basic ingredients, the same DNA coding system, and the same type of cellular factory are used to build everything from a mushroom to a mouse to a person. Which leaves us with one final incredible question to ponder. How does one simple, universal recipe manage to create the absolutely breathtaking diversity of life we see all around us?